You and I are about to do something most people never dare to do. We're going to stare directly into pain, not run from it, not numb it, not bury it under distractions, but face it, feel it, and maybe, for the first time, understand it. This is not just another video. This is a confrontation with the most avoided truth in modern life. And it begins with a whisper from the past, from a man who spent his life wandering the shadows of the human soul, Schopenhauer. The title of this journey is The Miracle of Accepting Pain, Schopenhauer's Truth. And by the end of this, you won't just think differently. You'll see differently. You'll feel differently. You'll be different.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Let me ask you something dangerous. What if pain isn't the villain? What if the suffering you've been trying to escape your entire life holds the very key to your liberation? Not metaphorically, not spiritually, but literally. That's what Schopenhauer believed. He didn't see pain as a problem to be solved. He saw it as a mirror, one that reflects back the deepest layers of our existence. And if you're brave enough to look into it without flinching, you might just see something miraculous. In the first minute of this exploration, I want to take you somewhere. Imagine this: you're locked in complete silence for 10 days. No phone, no talking, no distractions, just you, your breathing, and the pain. At first, it's unbearable. Your mind screams, your body aches, but then something happens. That you stop fighting, you start listening. What you hear isn't just your heartbeat or your thoughts, it's the voice of the will. It's that primal, blind force that Schopenhauer believed is the true engine behind all life. It's not cruel, but it is relentless. And it doesn't care what makes you happy. It only wants one thing: to keep wanting. Schopenhauer's philosophy begins with one brutal truth: to live is to suffer. Not because life is bad, but because desire is endless. The moment you satisfy one craving, another appears. You get the job, and now you want recognition. You find love, and now you fear losing it. You reach peace, and now you want it forever. The will never stops. It's like a fire that feeds on itself. Pain is what we feel when the will doesn't get what it wants. But here's the twist: pain is also the only thing that can wake us up from the trance of desire. So many of us live in resistance to pain. We medicate it, we deny it, we try to heal before we've even listened. But Schopenhauer challenges us to do something radical: accept it. Not tolerate it, not suppress it, but embrace it as part of the human condition. He believed that pain reveals the truth of our existence more clearly than pleasure ever could. Pleasure is fleeting. Pain lingers. It forces us inward. And if we stop resisting it, something extraordinary begins to happen. We start to see clearly. Think about your own pain, not just physical, but emotional, existential. And that breakup, that failure, that moment of utter loneliness when the world felt like it had turned its back on you. In those moments, weren't you the most real? Weren't you stripped bare of all illusions? That's what Schopenhauer saw in pain, a stripping away of the false self. And in that nakedness, there's a kind of truth that no amount of success or happiness can ever offer. But it's not easy. Accepting pain means giving up the illusion that life is supposed to feel good all the time. It means rejecting a culture that tells us to always stay positive, to manifest good vibes, to fix ourselves constantly. Schopenhauer would laugh at all that. Not out of cynicism, but out of wisdom. Because he knew the truth, life doesn't get better by avoiding suffering. It gets deeper when we surrender to it. And here's where the miracle begins. When you stop seeing pain as the enemy, you start to see it as a guide, a signal, a sacred messenger. Pain tells you what matters. It shows you where you're still attached, still clinging, still asleep. Accepting pain doesn't mean you enjoy it. It means you respect it. You learn from it. You sit with it like a teacher, not a threat. And when you do that, something incredible happens. You begin to transcend it. Schopenhauer didn't just think this was a nice idea. He lived it. He was lonely. He was rejected. He was obsessed with failure and death. But he didn't turn away from those things. He studied them. He wrote through them. And in doing so, he touched a kind of truth that still resonates centuries later. Because he understood something that very few people ever do. Pain, when accepted, becomes wisdom. Let's take that further. What if the pain in your life is not a distraction from your path, but the path itself? What if the heartbreak, the loss, the anxiety, it's all part of your awakening? That's not a comforting thought. It's a confronting one, but if you let it in, it changes everything. You stop asking, how can I get rid of this? And start asking, what is this trying to show me? And that shift from avoidance to attention is the beginning of transformation. Imagine a world where we taught kids to honor their pain, where we sat with each other in silence instead of trying to fix each other, where therapy wasn't about getting better, but about going deeper. That world starts with you, with me, with us, right now. Because each time we choose to accept pain instead of run from it, we become more human, more conscious, more alive. But here's something even deeper. Schopenhauer believed that pain is not just personal, but it's universal. He saw in suffering the great equalizer. And the rich suffer, the poor suffer, the enlightened suffer, and the ignorant suffer. No one escapes. And in that shared vulnerability, there is the seed of compassion. That's why Schopenhauer said compassion is the highest virtue. Because when you know your own suffering, you stop judging others for theirs. You see yourself in their pain. You soften. You open. You connect. What if that's the real miracle? Not that we can avoid pain, but that we can share it, hold it together, turn it into art, into meaning, into love. When you stop being afraid of your pain, you stop being afraid of other people's pain. And that makes you dangerous in the best way. Because now you can walk into any darkness and bring light, not by pretending everything's okay, but by showing that it's okay not to be okay. That truth is stronger than denial, and love is stronger than fear. So let me ask you something you may never have been asked before. What is the pain you've been avoiding your whole life? What's the feeling you've buried so deep you forgot it was even there? Could it be that your entire personality, the way you talk, act, love, compete, is just a defense mechanism to avoid that feeling? What would happen if, just for a moment, you stopped running and let it in? This is not easy work. It's not glamorous. It's not the kind of thing that gets applause. But it's real, and in a world drowning in illusion, that's the most valuable thing there is. Schopenhauer didn't offer a path to happiness. He offered a path to truth. And the miracle is, once you accept the truth, really accept it, you find a peace that no pleasure can match, a stillness that no achievement can touch. And that's what this video is really about. Not philosophy as an abstract theory, but as a lived experience, a practice, a way of being. Accepting pain is not giving up. It's waking up. It's choosing to live in reality, not fantasy. And that's where life begins, not the life you were sold, but the life that's yours. Let's continue the descent not into despair, but into depth. You and I have begun to strip away the layers of illusion around pain. We've started to see it not as punishment, not as failure, but as a profound part of what it means to exist. Now we go further, into the core of Schopenhauer's truth, into places most people never dare to go. Because once you understand what pain truly is, you understand something far greater. You understand yourself. Let's bring it close for a moment. Think about the last time you truly suffered. Not the little annoyances, but the real stuff, and the kind that leaves a mark. Maybe it was grief. Maybe it was betrayal. Then maybe it was that quiet, gnawing emptiness that strikes when everything seems fine on the outside, but something inside you feels like it's crumbling. In that moment, everything superficial falls away. You're not thinking about your next post, your next win, your next dopamine hit. You're just there, raw, vulnerable, alive. And that's exactly where Schopenhauer wants us to go. Because in that rawness, there's a truth that's more real than anything you can buy, achieve, or even understand intellectually. He believed pain is the most honest state of being. It doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't negotiate. It just is. And in a world full of masks, that kind of honesty is sacred. But we're conditioned to run from it. From childhood, we're taught that pain is a problem to be fixed. Crying? Stop it. Sad? Cheer up. Angry? Calm down. We're taught to control, suppress, and override our pain. But what if that's the very reason we suffer so much? What if the problem isn't the pain itself, but our refusal to let it move through us? Schopenhauer saw that we are slaves to the will, the endless force of craving, striving, desiring. And pain is what we feel when the will is denied. But here's the twist. The only way to free ourselves from the tyranny of the will is to accept that denial and to lean into the pain, not out of masochism, but out of a deep yearning for freedom. Because when you stop fighting pain, you stop feeding the will. And in that space, something miraculous opens. Let's make this real. Think about that one thing you want more than anything: love, success, inner peace, health, recognition. Now imagine never getting it, ever. What arises in you? Fear, anger, despair? That's the will screaming. That's the part of your being that refuses to accept what is. And that refusal, that inner war, is the true source of suffering. Schopenhauer teaches us that the path to liberation isn't about winning the war. It's about ending it, by surrendering, by saying, yes, this hurts. Yes, I want more. But I will not let this wanting define me. That's not weakness. That's the strongest, most courageous act you will ever perform. To look your deepest craving in the eye and say, I see you. I honor you, but you do not own me. Now let's talk about beauty. Because here's something most people miss. Schopenhauer didn't just dwell in darkness. He believed that beauty, real, transcendent beauty, is one of the few moments when the will loses its grip. When you look at a painting and time disappears. When you hear music that silences your thoughts. When you stand at the edge of the ocean and feel the vastness of it all. In those moments, you're not desiring. You're being. You're not chasing. You're witnessing. That's why art, for Schopenhauer, was a kind of salvation. It pulls us out of the endless cycle of pain and pleasure and places us in a realm beyond the will. But here's the catch: most of us even consume beauty with the will. We want to own it, capture it, post it, turn it into status. We don't let it change us. We try to possess it. And in trying to possess, we lose the very thing we're longing for. What if you let beauty in without trying to hold it? What if you let yourself feel it fully, without needing it to last? That's the miracle. That's the moment when the will pauses and you feel something closer to truth than anything else. Schopenhauer's truth isn't about despair. It's about depth. It's about facing the darkest parts of life and realizing they're not enemies, they're invitations. Invitations to grow, to awaken, to see clearly. And when you accept that invitation, your entire relationship with pain changes. It stops being a punishment. It becomes a portal. Let's talk about the body. Because pain isn't just emotional or existential, it's physical too. And our culture is obsessed with avoiding physical discomfort. We want instant relief, pills, numbness, escape, escape. But the body, like the mind, is always communicating. What if you listen to your body with the same reverence you give to a spiritual teacher? What if, instead of silencing your pain, you asked it what it's trying to show you? Schopenhauer believed that the human body is the will made visible, that your hunger, your desire, your restlessness, they're all expressions of that deeper force. And when your body is in pain, it's the will clashing with reality. But when you accept that pain, when you breathe into it, when you stop resisting, it doesn't just hurt less. It transforms. It becomes meaningful. It becomes sacred. Now we come to one of Schopenhauer's most radical ideas, that self-denial is the path to peace. Not denial in the sense of repression, but in the sense of letting go, or of releasing the grip of the ego. The ego is the mouthpiece of the will. It always wants more. It's never satisfied. And the more you feed it, the hungrier it gets. But when you begin to say no, not from fear, but from clarity, something shifts. You start to reclaim your power. Think about the last time you acted out of pure impulse. Maybe you said something you regretted. Maybe you chased a feeling that left you emptier than before. In that moment, you weren't choosing. The will was choosing through you, and you were just along for the ride. But what if you could pause? What if you could witness the craving and choose not to act on it? That moment of pause is the doorway to freedom. That's where your true self lives, not in action, but in awareness. And now I want to ask you the deepest question of all. Who are you without your desires? Without your story? Without your pain? If you strip all of it away, what remains? Most people never ask this question. They're too busy being someone. But the miracle happens when you stop being someone and simply become. Schopenhauer isn't inviting us to become better people. He's inviting us to become real people. People who see clearly, and who feel deeply, who love without possession, who suffer without resistance. This is the beginning of wisdom. Not knowledge, not facts, but wisdom. The kind that can't be taught, only realized. The kind that comes from sitting in silence with your pain until it becomes your teacher. The kind that comes from letting go of the need to be happy and finding peace instead. We're almost there. But before we reach the final part, I want you to sit with this truth. You will suffer. You will lose. You will feel broken. But none of that means you've failed. In fact, it might mean you're finally waking up. Pain is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation. You've stayed with me this far. That already makes you rare. Most people would have clicked away by now, distracted by something shinier, lighter, easier. But not you. You've chosen the path of depth, the path of honesty, and the path of truth. And now we arrive at the final part of our journey into the miracle of accepting pain, Schopenhauer's truth. What we uncover here isn't just philosophical theory, it's a practical, spiritual blueprint for a life not built on illusion, but on clarity and courage. You ready? Let's begin here. Most people don't realize they're in pain. Not really. They've buried it so deep under productivity, entertainment, validation, and noise that they mistake numbness for peace. But numbness is not peace. Numbness is the absence of feeling. Peace is the full acceptance of whatever is present, including pain. Schopenhauer understood this like no one else. He knew that our deepest suffering often comes not from the pain itself, but from our refusal to feel it. The miracle begins the moment we stop resisting and start allowing. So I want to ask you something that might shake you. What if the pain you're carrying, the loneliness, the grief, the fear, the emptiness isn't a flaw in your life, but the very gateway to your awakening? What if you've been trying to escape the very thing that could finally make you free? That's the paradox Schopenhauer lived and breathed. He didn't see pain as the opposite of life. He saw it as life's most honest expression. And when we accept that, something inside us shifts forever. Let's talk about meaning, because this is where most people get stuck. We're told to find our purpose, to chase our dreams, and to leave a legacy. But what if the deeper truth is that all meaning is constructed by the will? That the moment we attach ourselves to an outcome, to a role, to an identity, we're back in the trap. Schopenhauer didn't tell us to give up on meaning. He invited us to go beyond it, to see through it, to find a deeper kind of stillness that isn't dependent on external things. A stillness that remains even when everything you thought mattered falls apart. I know that sounds scary, maybe even depressing. But think about it. Isn't there something incredibly liberating about realizing you don't need to be anything other than what you are right now? That you don't need to achieve or prove or even understand everything. That you can just be? That's not nihilism. That's transcendence. And it starts the moment you stop asking, how can I fix this pain? And start asking, what happens if I just feel it? Now let's get brutally honest. Most of us are afraid of feeling because we think it will destroy us. We think that if we really let in the sorrow, the rage, the shame, the despair, it'll swallow us whole. But here's the truth. What destroys us is not the feeling itself. What destroys us is the resistance, the suppression, the self-judgment. Schopenhauer's gift was showing us that when we feel fully without resistance, without story, without attachment, we don't fall apart. We fall into something deeper. We fall into life. And that's where compassion is born. Real compassion, not pity, not moral obligation, but the compassion that arises when you've suffered so deeply that you recognize yourself in everyone. You no longer see people through the lens of judgment. You see their pain, you see their longing, you see their desperate attempts to feel okay in a world that never promised them safety. And you soften. You don't need to fix them. You don't need to save them. You just see them. And that seeing is love. This is the miracle of accepting pain. Not that it makes us tougher, not that it makes us successful, but that it makes us real. It strips us down to the most essential truths of our humanity. But we want to be loved. But we want to belong. We want to feel safe. And we want to know that our pain means something. When you accept your pain, you finally see that it does. Not because it has some cosmic lesson or reward, but because it's yours. It's your path, your fire, your teacher. Let's go deeper. Schopenhauer saw the will as a kind of cosmic madness, a force that drives all living beings to strive, to crave, to suffer. And he believed that the only way to transcend the madness was through renunciation. Not renunciation as in becoming a monk, but a deeper form of letting go. Letting go of the need to have everything go your way. Letting go of the fantasy that life should always feel good. Letting go of the illusion that your worth is tied to your achievements or your image or your control. Ask yourself this: what would your life look like if you stopped needing it to be different? If you stopped needing you to be different, and think about it, what would your day feel like if you didn't need to be happy, successful, healed, or even understood? What if you could just be present with what is, even if what is hurts? That's not giving up. That's waking up. That's what Schopenhauer was pointing to all along. And here's where the video takes a turn. Because I want to offer you something practical. Something you can carry with you after this ends. The next time you feel pain, physical, emotional, existential, I want you to do something radical. I want you to pause, just for one breath. And instead of trying to fix it, I want you to ask, can I allow this, just for now? And that question is a doorway, a small crack in the wall of resistance. And through that crack, light begins to pour in. You'll notice something. The moment you allow pain, even for a second, it changes. It softens. Not because the pain goes away, but because you are no longer at war with it. That's the miracle. Peace doesn't come when pain ends. Peace comes when we stop fighting pain. And that peace, it's not passive, it's powerful. It's fierce. It's the kind of peace that can walk into a burning building and say, I am still here. So now, I want to leave you with one final challenge, one that could shift the entire trajectory of your life. I want you to find the one pain in your life that you've never fully accepted. The one thing you've avoided, denied, or numbed for years. And I want you to sit with it, just for a moment. Invite it in like an old friend. You don't need to fix it. Just feel it. Let it speak. Let it ache. Let it be. And then, when you're ready, say to it, I see you. I accept you. You are part of me. That's the moment everything changes. That's the moment the will loses its grip. That's the moment you become more than a puppet of desire. You become conscious, awake, alive. The miracle of accepting pain isn't that it ends suffering, it's that it reveals the truth beneath it. The truth that you are not your pain. You are the awareness holding it. You are the silence behind the scream, with the stillness inside the storm. And when you realize that, truly realize it, you will never be the same. You'll stop chasing. You'll stop pretending. You'll stop needing life to be anything other than what it is. And in that surrender, you'll find a peace that no success, no relationship, no achievement can ever give you. A peace that's yours, always has been, always will be. This is Schopenhauer's truth. This is the miracle. This is the path. Now take a breath. Look around you and ask yourself, what pain have I been avoiding that's waiting to set me free? You already know the answer.